Beloved, listen closely. You have been taught to chase your desires across a vast and lonely distance, to believe that what you long for is somewhere out there, far from you, separate from you, waiting for you to become worthy enough to receive it. But Spirit knows no distance. What if I told you that the life you are praying for is not something you must attract from the outside, but a sacred frequency you are meant to remember from within? What if the bridge you have been desperately trying to build was never needed at all? Because the greatest illusion ever sold to the human mind is the illusion of separation. You were taught to seek love as if it were missing, to chase abundance as if it belonged to someone else, to pursue peace as if it lived at the end of a future moment. But in the realm of the soul, there is no over there. There is only resonance. There is only remembrance. There is only oneness. And today, I want to show you the truth most. Manifestation teachers never touch that reality does not respond to your desperation. It responds to your state of being. This is not about becoming someone new. This is about awakening from the illusion that you were ever disconnected in the first place. So stay with me. Because once you see why separation is the lie, you will never chase your desires the same way again. Here is where so many beautiful souls become trapped. You spend 10 minutes visualizing abundance, and the other 23 hours and 50 minutes witnessing lack. You close your eyes and imagine the miracle, but then you open them and immediately bow to the evidence of struggle. You look at the bills. You look at the delays. You look at what has not arrived. And without realizing it, you return again and again to the frequency of not yet. This is the deeper problem, because every time you try to pull something toward you, you are unconsciously declaring that it is still far away. You are affirming distance. You are affirming absence. You are affirming separation. And the universe does not simply respond to your words. It responds to the state you live in most consistently. So if for a few minutes you declare faith, but for the rest of the day, you rehearse fear, which signal do you think becomes your dominant broadcast? That is why so many people feel exhausted by manifestation. Not because the law is broken, but because they are trying to plant seeds in faith while watering them in doubt. Listen closely, beloved. You cannot spend your day studying what is missing and expect your soul to stabilize in wholeness. The moment you obsess over the absence of the thing, you fall out of resonance with its presence. And that is the hidden pain. Most people are not failing because they are unworthy. They are failing because they have been taught to desire from separation instead of embody from union. And this is where the old story of separation begins to collapse. Even science has been forced to confront something the mystics have whispered for ages. Reality is far more connected than the rational mind is comfortable admitting. In 2022, the Nobel Prize in Physics honored groundbreaking experiments on quantum entanglement, a phenomenon so strange that Einstein himself called it spooky action at a distance. Why does that matter? Because entanglement reveals that two particles can remain profoundly linked even when separated by great distances. To the logical mind, that sounds impossible, but to the awakened soul, it sounds familiar. It tells us something breathtaking. What looks separate may not be separate in the way we once believed. So when I say that separation is an illusion, I am not speaking only in poetry. I am saying that the universe itself is far more relational, far more unified, and far more mysterious than the old material story allowed. Now listen closely. Beloved, I am not telling you that physics literally proves every mystical claim. I am telling you that it opens the door. It humbles the ego. It shatters the naive belief that your desired reality must be far away, simply because your senses say so. And that is the reframe. If creation itself contains hidden connection, if distance is not as absolute as we were taught, then perhaps the life you seek is not something outside of you to be hunted down. Perhaps it is a frequency you are already in relationship with, a reality you begin to touch the moment you stop worshipping separation. That is when manifestation stops being fantasy and becomes resonance. So what is the solution? You do not attract the life you desire. You select it. You stop treating your dream as something distant, random, or withheld, and begin relating to it as a living potential already, resting within the field of creation, waiting for your conscious alignment. This is what I call identity collapsing. Not forcing, not chasing, not begging, but collapsing the distance between who you think you are and who your soul already knows you can be. Here is how it works. First, radical acceptance. Accept that your desired life is not fiction. It is a pre-existing possibility, a living potential, a frequency already available within the greater intelligence of reality. The problem is not that it does not exist. The problem is that you keep relating to it as if it is far from you. Radical acceptance means you stop arguing with the possibility. You stop saying maybe one day and begin standing in the deeper truth. It already exists as a potential, and I no longer refuse it with my disbelief. That shift alone begins to dissolve resistance. Second, shift perception. Stop looking at the goal. Start looking from it. This is where most people get it wrong. They stand in their current identity and stare at the future with longing. But longing still contains distance. Instead, enter the state. Feel the floor of the new home beneath your feet. Hear the calm in your own voice when your life is no longer ruled by survival. Sense the rhythm of the mornings you once prayed for. Feel the steadiness, the spaciousness, the relief. Do not merely observe the life, occupy it, because the soul does not transform through observation alone. It transforms through embodiment. Third, the entanglement trust. Release the obsession with how it will happen. This is where spiritual power returns. Because the moment you micromanage every detail, you fall back into fear. You tell life that you do not trust its intelligence. You tell the universe that control matters more than coherence. But true alignment does not require panic. It requires trust. Trust that what is meant for your path can be arranged in ways your mind cannot yet predict. Trust that unseen connections are already moving. Trust that the field can organize what the ego cannot. Your job is not to force the path into existence. Your job is to become energetically available for it. That is identity collapsing. You stop living as the one who hopes. You become the one who knows. You stop rehearsing separation. You begin embodying union. And the moment that happens, reality has something new to respond to. And here is the secret most people never master. Inconsistency. That is where the power leaks. That is where the old reality keeps rebuilding itself. Because your life does not reshape itself around a 5-minute meditation, if the rest of your day is spent returning to the old identity. Your reality reflects your dominant observation, your repeated state, your familiar inner home. Not the moment when you felt powerful for a few minutes, but the pattern you keep emotionally returning to. That is the secret sauce. If you meditate on abundance, but live the rest of the day rehearsing lack, your nervous system will still call scarcity home. If you visualize love, but continue speaking to yourself through rejection, your field will keep broadcasting separation. If you declare peace, but constantly observe life through fear, urgency and control, then fear remains your altar. Beloved, manifestation is not a moment. It is a residence. It is the place your consciousness returns to again, and again, and again, until the new identity stops feeling unnatural and begins to feel like truth. You must make the new self your default home, not your occasional visit, not your spiritual performance, not your temporary mood after watching an inspiring video, your home. Because once the new identity becomes familiar, reality begins to organize around that familiarity. And that is when the shift becomes stable, not when you touch the frequency once, but when you live there long enough that the old version of you no longer feels believable. Beloved, here is the truth. You are already an expert at collapsing reality. You have been doing it unconsciously for years. Every fear you rehearsed, every limitation you accepted, every story you repeated about who you are, what you deserve, and what is possible, all of it shaped the reality you came to call normal. That is how powerful you are. The problem was never that you lacked power. The problem was that your power was running on autopilot. But now you know. Now you can choose with awareness. Now you can observe with intention. Now you can stop collapsing timelines rooted in fear and begin embodying the reality your soul has been trying to remember. This is your turning point. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. So let this moment become sacred. If you are ready to stop observing from struggle and start observing from the version of you that is already aligned, already whole, already connected, then comment, "I am observing from my new reality." Type it to lock this frequency in. Type it as a declaration. Type it as a conscious command to your mind, your body, and your field. And if this message activated something deep inside you, subscribe if you haven't already, because on this channel we do not chase illusions. We awaken, we remember, and we become. Until next time, Universal Consciousness signing out.